brief moment to say welcome to Marilyn Arcoli, who is our speaker for today on this topic, and she will be, she's also coordinating with the Jolly Singers in one of the songs that they're going to do. When we were discussing in the worship team this particular Sunday, it just Marilyn expressed an interest in having some thoughts to share. And, you know, being the totally uncontrolling and laissez-faire kind of person that I am, I said, well, that's great. So the only thing is make sure you say something about joy. And about 2 weeks ago, she came and said to me, now, what was that word I was supposed to say something about? And she said, and I said, joy. And she said, yeah, I can do that. So we're happy for that. We also know that Marilyn has invited, in her role as Nurture and Community Life coordinator in our community speakers time, invited her friend Jalinda Schwartz to be with us during hospitality time for a little time of talk and Q&A as all of us, all the beasts and the children assembled in that time together. But I now welcome you to this role. Come on over.
Why am I here? The noises, the smells, they're so different. There's so many of us. Dogs and cats, puppies, kittens, all the same, but different. There's big ones and small ones. Puppies on their hind legs at the windows, begging for attention. The kittens rolling and frolicking, playing, not noticing, but people noticing. They're noticing their precious faces. They're noticing their silky hair and the people. Tap, tap, tap on the windows as they go by, trying to get attention of the little ones that are waiting, and the big ones are waiting, and the frightened ones that are waiting, the ones that are lost that are waiting. Tap, 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 all day long. It startled me at first. Now I don't look up. I watch across the hall the big gray cat. He's in the window, but he's curled up. He doesn't hardly move, and his tail covers his face. I know what he's thinking. I'm thinking the same thing. It's the young ones, the puppies and the kittens. It's the pretty ones and big strong ones. They're the ones that get picked. So I lay in the corner and I lay there with my thoughts. I think about my dad and what we do. I think about the walks we take, and I think about the people we meet. My dad is such a talker. He has so much to talk about with everybody he sees, and I listen. My dad, I miss him. I miss him a lot. He says it's best when I'm with him, when we go on the walks, when we go to the store, when we go to the patio outside the restaurant. He says that's the best because that's when people see him. When he's alone, he says they don't see him at all. When I'm with him, he says, even the crabby ones look up. They reach down to pet me and they say, oh, she's so sweet. What's her name? And my dad says Angel. He never corrects them. He never tells them, I'm not a she, I'm a he. He says, that's okay. At least they stop to chat. My dad and I have a special thing we do together. We go to the library. When we walk in the library, everyone knows us, everyone greets us, and they act like they're happy to see us. We go and my dad sits in that big chair right in front of those windows, and I sit down by his feet. I've got my nose against the glass. He's got papers and books and everything all around him. But that doesn't stop him from talking to the people on the left and talking to the people on the right in quiet, hushed tones. I sit there and I look at the birds and the rabbits and all the critters that are around. And one time I barked really loud. I startled myself and I startled everybody else. My dad said, "Oh, no, 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 no. You don't bark in the library. If you bark in the library, they are going to take our pass and we'll never get to come again. So I don't bark in the library." We're spending less time on our walks now. We're slowing down, Dad and I. I don't mind. We spend a lot more time in the library. I should have known there was something wrong. My dad sat down on the step. He pulled me to him, and all of a sudden there was this confusion. There were people around us. They were yelling. They were saying, "Get away, give him some air." They were pushing me away. Didn't they understand? Couldn't I convey to them, these strangers, this was my dad? There was more confusion and more people came, and pretty soon they picked him up and they put him in a big truck. And I didn't get to go with them. They held me back. Somebody said, "Who's this dog?" The library lady was there and she said, "That's his dog." And someone said, "Well, I'll take him. I'll take him to the shelter." So I've been here for a long time, just like the gray cat. But I know when my dad comes, he is not going to tap, tap, tap on the window. He is going to say, "Angel, come on, boy, we're going home." When Ray died, I was gutted. I couldn't believe it. He wasn't ever sick. He didn't slow down. When the doctor came out and said they worked on him for 45 minutes and they couldn't bring him back, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He just retired not even a year ago. We had made plans. We were going to travel. We were going to sell our house. We'd already listed it. We were going to downsize. And Ray said we were going to take trips. He said, "We're going to go across the country and we're going to see all 50 states. And I said, "Ray, there are 52 states. And he said, "When I was in school, there are 50 states. Ray didn't like change. What happened was my sadness, it changed. It turned to anger. I had so much anger, and I had a hole in my heart. I felt no joy, and I had no faith that things were going to be different. My friends, they gathered around me. They tried to get me to do things. "Come on, let's go out to dinner. Let's join for coffee, all the girls together." They called me all the time until I got to a point where I didn't answer the phone. And then one day I realized the only time I opened my mouth and said anything was at the market when I said thank you to the cashier. One day I was sitting and I saw a little ad in the paper, and it said the local shelter needed blankets and towels. Well, I certainly had a lot of those. So I handed them the blankets and the towels, and the girl was very, very nice. She said thank you profusely. We really needed these. But while you're here, why don't you take a look around? Take a look around at our shelter. We're proud of it. And we've got lots of animals for you to see. I didn't care to see any animals. There wasn't going to be animals in my life. I was an alone person. I was me. I used to be we, but now I'm me. So I took that walk around the shelter, and when I went down that hall, I was shocked. How could there be so many? They were all over. There were big ones and little ones. There were dogs and there were cats, so many kittens. There were rabbits and there were birds. I looked around and I thought, all of these animals need a home? I walked around and I saw a little guy. He was in the back of his kennel, a little brown, kind of scruffy little guy. I read his card. His kennel card said, male, approximately 9 years old. It said that he was neutered, and it said he was friendly, he was housebroken, and he was surrendered. His parent died. He died. And I stood there looking at this little guy, and finally, he looked up at me, and that face wasn't even sad. That face was blank. That face was like he had nothing left. And I looked at him, and I said, that's my face. Well, somebody came up to me. I guess she was an attendant. She said, oh, you're looking at him. He's so sweet. Everybody looks at him, but they go on. They all want the puppies. They want the kittens. They want the big, strong dogs or the fluffy little dogs. But they don't want the older dogs. I try and tell them, the puppies and the kittens are hard. The puppies chew on your furniture. They take your shoe and you don't know where it is, so now you've just got one. The kittens, they climb up your curtains. These young ones are hard. You got to train them. They're going to potty on your carpet. They're not going to walk well on your leash, and they're not going to come when you call them. As I filled out the adoption papers, there were a lot of questions. I guess I answered them all right. And I said a little prayer. I said, Ray, please guide me to do the right thing. Well, as I was walking out of the shelter, I realized they hadn't told me his name. I turned around, I said, what have you named him? And the girl kind of sheepishly looked at me and she said, well, we call him Nobody. Nobody. She said, yeah, nobody ever looked at him, and for some reason we started calling him Nobody. So Nobody and I got in the car. Nobody sat in the passenger seat. He didn't whine, he didn't whimper, he didn't bark. He just sat there looking out the window. When we got home, he sniffed everything, every room. He sniffed, looking for somebody, I think. Well, it was time to feed him, so I opened the bag that the shelter had given me. I opened it up, and I looked, and I said, nobody would eat this. So I took a bite. It tasted like sawdust. Actually, it tasted like diet food. That night, Nobody and I had scrambled eggs. When it was time to go to bed, I made him a little pallet. I put it in the den. He seemed to know it was his. He laid down, he curled up. I said, good night, Nobody, and I went to bed. When I got up that morning, there he was still on that little pallet. And you know, his tail did this, just once. I leashed him up. I said, I guess I gotta go out. I got myself dressed. We went out, we walked down the block, we walked around the corner. There were other people walking their dogs, jogging, people out there. And when they looked at me, they saw me. They smiled and I smiled back. And every day we did this until finally they got familiar. I started to say something to him. Now I said good morning, and they said good morning too. And then they said, "Oh, she's so sweet. What's her name?" And I said, "Nobody." Well, after I did that a few times and people looked at me like I was a little bit cracked, I dropped the no and I called him Buddy. So Buddy and I went everywhere. Buddy was great. Buddy behaved. Buddy walked on that leash. Buddy didn't bark. Buddy and I went to the store. Buddy and I went to the restaurants. We sat outside in the patio, and everyone noticed us. Not just Buddy, but they were talking to me too. And then I started picking up that phone, and I started calling my friends. And I said, "Let's go out for coffee. I want you to meet Buddy." I did a lot of things. I did a lot of things with Buddy. And you know what? That hole I had in my heart, that anger that I felt, that I thought I would never ever get rid of, it was starting to fill up. And it was starting to fill up with joy. I had faith once again. I had faith that things were going to be different, that my life was going to be on another journey. And you know, the favorite thing we did together, Buddy and I, we went to the library. We sat in the library. I read the newspapers cover to cover. I never had time to do that before. Buddy sat on the floor beside me, his nose right up against the window. But he was so good. All those critters jumping around, the rabbits, the birds, the little lizards. Buddy never barked. Buddy was the perfect dog. And now I have somebody. I have somebody to care for. I have somebody to love. I said a prayer when I got Buddy. I said a prayer to Ray. Please help me. Please tell me what to do. Am I making the right decision? And you know what Ray did? He sent me down an angel. He sent me down an angel in the form of a terrier mix, male, housebroken, neutered, loves to travel, wants to see all 50 states.
Show us how to
all the buddies, I thank each and every one of you for loving them, for nurturing them, for bringing them into your lives. And thank you everyone for being here today.